Welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G. I'm your host, Dr. G, and I am so glad you could keep our appointment. Really, I don't think tonight's guest needs any introduction because he is a trailblazer and a popular YouTuber himself, but he's also, I can call him my friend, and whenever I want to call on him, if he's available, he's here on the show to give us an update, and that is Reel Nagas. Started off as a Christian, like a lot of us did, and he found inconsistencies and contradictions in the church and the Bible as a child. And after not finding answers to his questions about the church, he prayed to God or the universe to just show him the truth no matter what it was. And soon after this heartfelt plea for truth, he was introduced to alternative knowledge by way of a book called The New World Order by Ralph Epperson, which led him on a 25-year path of extensive research and study into a multitude of topics from ancient world Moorish history, secret societies and symbolism, movie symbolism, Khemetan, mystical, metaphysical sciences such as alchemy, astrology, and the science of melanin, political sciences, world governments, esoteric fitness and nutrition, to Aboriginal constitutional and police stop law. Reel Nagas' mission is to pass on the information the universe has entrusted within him to help restore, elevate, and evolve the consciousness of all melanated people and the world as a whole. Please help me welcome back for I don't know what time, how many times it is, to Office Hours with Dr. G.
That's me.
Brother Reel Nagas. How you doing? You know how you doing.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
I hear you.
All right.
How y'all doing out there? We have to let the music music play. Yeah, that's me. One more bar, y'all. I hope you're feeling all right out there today, because I am feeling fantastic. I love it when my brother is here on Office Hours with Dr. G, so we can get an update and get some of that knowledge and all whatever the universe has poured into him in the prior days. I want to hear it. We want to hear it. How you doing? How you doing?
What's up? I'm good. How you doing?
I am so good. I am so good. And thank you all for being out there in the chat. Want you to press that like and share. Let somebody know that we are here. We are live. I don't know if we hear a little echo or whatever, but we are live, and we just want to talk about a few things you need to know now, because there is a lot going on, and I'm reading and studying things, and you're, doing things. Right off the bat, I want to talk about the banking situation, because it's on the hearts and minds of so many, especially since so many of us have entrusted our hard-earned fiat
Man,
to the banking.
Yep.
So we're hearing all kinds of stuff. So we first heard about not first. I've been hearing about this since about 2011, when I met Grand Sheikh Taj Tariq Bey. He has been hammering this home that, take your money out the bank, just leave just enough in there for your day-to-day dealings and things you have to do. Invest in gold, invest in silver. Y'all know I'm into, I've been with Quicksilver for 2. It took me a long time to get with it, but, silver. And, he's been saying these things. He's been saying 401ks were 409ks and all this stuff. He's been saying this for years. And now in our lifetime, we are seeing a lot of ish. Please.
We're about to go down.
What's happening? And what's going on?
Well, you're at the flip, the change. Everything, all of this is the changing, the one world order movement. And so there's many different parts to this one world movement. And so the financial flip is what needs to go down next. But before that though, there's a battle going on in the world right now. So there's like the one world order is not solidified, and so that's what this war is going on right now. So you got like people like Russia and China and a lot of other people who aren't necessarily on board. Like a lot of African countries, they're not on board with this one world order.
Mm.
So they're trying to force them some type of way into into this one world system. So this is why you see uh, America through a proxy war, is fighting with Russia through the Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
But see, Russia is like their last obstacle. Well, not necessarily their last obstacle. It's really like Russia and North Korea, places that have nukes, that have the nukes that can do stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
who can oppose the one world thing that's going on? So they have to systematically try to take these cats out. So Russia's the biggest one. Russia got more nukes than America. So they have to try to take Russia out first. If you play chess, you got to take you want to you got to be strategic. You want to take the main cat off the board first.
Okay.
And so that's Putin. And so through that, they're trying to as far as the money system. So the money, everybody knows, I hope everybody knows that debt notes are, they have a shelf life. Like paper money, really all money has a shelf life. Money has changed throughout history. There's always been at one point in time, it was sticks. It was called the tally stick. That's why you say, what's the tally? When you add up numbers, you say, what's the tally? Because for like 1,000 years, they used to use a stick to count money. They split the stick in half, and then once you made a purchase or something, they would put a groove in the stick. And so then in each part of the stick, so if the stick came together, the grooves had to match up. And so that's how you knew you had money. And so, money changes over time. It's based off of, our collective agreement of what the medium of exchange is. So money can truly be anything. It could be a pair of socks. if we want it to be. If it's cold, if you live in a cold place, money's gonna be socks. and some hand warmers and beanies and stuff like that. So, it's depending on what we agree on.
Mm-hmm.
Every 70 years or so, maybe every 70 to 100 years, money changes, money flips. So, we were backed by gold for a while, until the 70s, and then that's when we fully went on the debt note system. Now it's time for another change in the money system. And America has been keeping the money system afloat for a long time, based off the fact that they in the early 1900s, they went around and they got everybody to be on the petrol dollar. So they was like, all right, if you're going to buy any oil around the world, you got to do it in American dollars and American debt notes. And so the reason they did that is because they made these deals with the Saudis at first, and they said, all right, if you guys use debt notes to make your purchases, then we'll give you protection. So because they were and so in those Saudi in those different Muslim countries, they had they were fighting with each other. A lot of these different countries were fighting with each other. So it was like with Yemen and all these places. So they was like, we'll give you protection if you use debt notes. So they went around, they doing this for almost 100 years, and they got everybody to buy into the debt note system, which made America the most powerful country in the world. Now, what's happening is they know it's a floating, it's a sinking ship. They know it. They know it. It was a fugazi, a fake, a fake ship in the first place. It was one of those plastic life rafts, and it wasn't no real boat. It wasn't no real ship they had on. They had on a plastic life dinghy, and now they know it's getting ready to fall to the wayside. So they say, all right, well, in the 70s, when the gold was getting taken up, the money was backed by gold up into the 70s. When they took the gold, that's when we went on the full fiat system. So now this is almost about to crash. So they said, well, what what's the next thing? They still have to keep America floating, right? So they're trying to move to the what's called the CBDC, that central banking digital currency, and so that's eventually the plan, but they have to get us used to it first. So so what happens is, so cryptocurrency, like when cryptocurrency came out, the main part of cryptocurrency was not for it to be money necessarily. It's so that it was for it to be money, like Bitcoin, right? Was the first one. Bitcoin was supposed to be a way for you not to be linked to the government, because it's something called the blockchain, and the blockchain or something called the ledger, right? So everybody's transactions in Bitcoin goes to the public ledger, and this ledger is carried on millions of computers around the world. So in order to, you can't hack it unless you take control over 51% of the computers in the system, which is impossible. So that's why Bitcoin is so good. It's still good, like right now, but they crash Bitcoin to make you run away from it. But Bitcoin, other than money, it's money that can never be corrupted by the government. So that's why that's still the big one. Now, they got everybody used to it. They got everybody on the crypto. Now you can say, what's the conspiracy? Nobody knows who created crypto. It could have been the government or whatever. All of that, for sure. All of that could have been the case. But as far as them being able to take control of it, it's really impossible for them to take control of it unless they take control over 51% of the computers. So what happens is they get everybody used to, all these other cryptocurrencies start coming out. They see everybody getting rich off these cryptocurrencies, and they want to move towards that, which really started messing up the dollar. So they, with this SVB, the Silicon Valley Bank, which mostly deals in tech companies, right? So they were the main bank for all the tech companies in the world. Them and what is that thing? Singular Bank in New York, and also for the crypto. So what they did is, everybody thinks that it was an accident that the banking system crashed. So I don't know if everybody remember that FTX. Remember that dude, that FTX that just came out, the Sam Bankman-Fried, and he got like Shaq and all these other people to invest in the crypto, right? And then they built it up to $16 million, and then he was like, I don't know where y'all money went. My bad. He was like, I don't know. And so now everybody's suing Shaq and what's the boy name? Tom Brady and all these people, Larry David, all these people who were in on the FTX. So FTX though was a pump and dump. So basically, it was a way for people to get. It was a couple of things. It was a couple of things why FTX. FTX is backed by the World Economic Forum at first. So everybody, FTX dude was backed by the World Economic Forum, the whole company. So that was a plan. If anybody knows about the World Economic Forum, their plan is to institute a global system. That's their whole plan. So how can they do that if they don't necessarily have control over the money, especially with crypto coming out? So they say, all right, well, we'll introduce this FTX, right? FTX, and everybody came out and it looked like it was the greatest thing since sliced bread, and it went from like almost no money to worth $16 billion in like 3 years. Everybody's like, oh snap, I need to jump on it, right? So, but basically what they were doing was, this dude from FTX, he was getting money. It was crazy. So he would get money. They would send money to like Ukraine. So Ukraine was investing in FTX. Ukraine, the country was investing in FTX.
Okay.
So then, this is crazy. So then in FTX, so FTX would take the money and then pay off politicians to
Go figure.
Go figure. So they would take the money. So Ukraine. So this is crazy. So Ukraine invests in FTX. Where's Ukraine getting the money to invest in FTX? They're getting it from America. So that money out of America is.
Can we say this? It's true.
This is fact. This is fact. So the money that America is sending Ukraine, that's $100 and something billion, Ukraine take that money and invest it in FTX, right? FTX then takes that money and then gives it back to the politicians and lobby money. So they wash. That's how they wash the money.
Mm-hmm.
So they're doing that. That was one part. So they getting fat off of that. But what they're also doing is ruining the reputation of FTX, the crypto. So when that happened, it was so many people invested in FTX, so many corporations, even like Disney, all these major companies who were invested in FTX, and they started crashing when that happened. So then that was the beginning. That was the beginning of it. Then then you see they started. So a few years ago, they started something called BRICS. If anybody know what BRICS, that's the alliance. They're called the BRICS alliance, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And these countries came together to get off the petrodollar. So remember, America's only powerful because they make everybody pay for oil in Federal Reserve note. So BRICS came together and was like, "Fuck America." Like, get America. We need to get off the. Let's get you want to get away from America. You want to get up. All right, let's come together. And so they got together and said, "All right, we're gonna use." Basically, most of them are using the yuan. I think they're using the Chinese yuan. They all agreed to use the Chinese yuan. So like what happened a couple of days ago, China and Russia came together and did a deal for Russia to buy all of their stuff in the yuan, which means now they don't need any Federal Reserve notes. So what happens is all these countries are going to start sending Federal Reserve notes back to America, which is going to drive. They've already been doing that, but that drives up the inflation, which will, which then saps the middle class, saps the money out of the middle class. So this is all a plan. If there's a rich middle class, if America's doing good, they can't crash the system and make you beg for a new one. So they have to crash the whole damn system. So this SVB, this is where the SVB bank come in. So last time, remember the banking system crashed in 2008?
Oh yeah, the housing bubble and all of that.
Right,
stuff.
that was with the housing market, right? But that was because banks were writing false or what they call predatory loans. They knew people didn't have good credit. They were like, you want $100,000? They was like, you got bad credit? I don't care. Come in here. So they gave everybody all these loans that with bad credit, which all failed, which drove the banks down. America came in and saved the banks. So then there was this bill called the Dodd-Frank bill, which was by these senators or these congressmen, Dodd and Frank. They said, we're going to do this so you can never do this again. You can never come in and your banks can never mess up American money again, right? So what happens now? This was in 2008. Now, all of a sudden in 2023, you see another bank was doing faulty stuff with the people with the people money. So that bank crashed. And then, which in turn, it was like 100 and some other banks who were tied into to that bank. So 100 and something other banks all crashed at the same time within the last month, or since SVB, the banking system crashed. So now what that is doing, I'm going back to Signature Bank. So Signature, but how this happened was the dude Frank who made the bill, the Dodd-Frank bill, when Trump got elected, he quit Congress. And he went and started working for Signature Bank, excuse me, not Singular, but Signature Bank. And he started working for Signature Bank. And so what they did is they gave him $1 million to undo the bill that he did in the first place, to stop the banks from taking advantage of people.
Well, had he done that prior to quitting, because he had to still be in that position, right?
No. So he quit Congress after Trump got elected. He's out of Congress now. So as a private citizen, he goes and works for Singular Bank. And Singular Bank paid him $1 million to go lobby the Trump administration. Yeah, to lobby the Trump administration to get the regulations that he made to get the regulations taken down. Right. Wow. So so basically he said it was a controlled demolition because they're trying to institute. They want you to get on their dollar. They want you to get on their crypto. There's a difference. They don't want everybody else's crypto. They want you to get on the United States dollar crypto. So they had to crash everybody else's money to make you think everybody else is unsafe. But then they will come in and like, we're the good guys. Everybody, I mean, you can trust us here. This is America. We're America. You can trust us. And so they're trying to drive everybody to that. But what they're doing is they're already implementing this around the world. In India, they got a central banking digital currency. In Nigeria, they got a central banking digital currency. In Nigeria, they almost crashed the system over there because they introduced the banking digital currency months ago, but they still had the old reserve notes in Nigeria. They were still letting people use the old money. So, but when they came in and they said, "All right, now y'all good. Remember, we told y'all this months ago we was gonna take this money out of the system." They were like, "Y'all ready?" And then they cut the old money off, and people went crazy. They went to the bank and tried to get their money out. The banks was closed and everything. They started burning down everything over in Nigeria. They went it was a whole riot. And then Nigeria came out, "Hey, my bad, y'all. Oh, sorry. We back, my bad. Y'all can have your old money back." So shout out to Nigeria. They didn't take that. But so all of that is coming, to the rest of the world. And so America is just trying to figure out the right time to introduce this central banking digital currency. Now, if you got less than $250,000 in the bank, so what they're gonna really do is they're gonna try to crash the system, and how to get you to accept the central banking digital currency, they're gonna give you more CBDC than what you had in the bank. So say if you had like $20,000 in the bank, and the bank crashed, and you lost your $20,000. Now it's insured. It's insured by FDIC. But if they come in and they say, "All right, you had $20,000 in the bank. What if we give you 30,000 in CBDC? We can give you 20,000 in the old currency, or we can give you $30,000 in central banking digital currency." What you gonna? Most people gonna be like, most people are gonna take the extra 10 grand or whatever it is that they offer over that. So that's the system or the way that they're trying to come in, and again, that's the way for them to implement this whole social social credit score system that they're trying to implement. Everything is digital. They can turn you off anytime they want.
True.
Money should never be controlled by the government, what I'm saying, or other than issues, what I'm saying, as far as paper money. But no, they should never have control over your purchases. With the digital banking currency, they're going to be able to look in on the blockchain and say, "Well, what did you do with this money this week? Or what did you do with this money this time?" They can be able to cut your money off, like they did the drivers in Canada. So the people in Canada, they're not like us. They were able to cut their money off immediately. They went to the bank and said, "The Canadians cut the truck drivers' money off." And anybody who was donating to the truck driver, they went in their bank accounts and cut their bank account off. So that's what they want to do in America. So that's why I've been telling everybody, look, make sure you get gold and silver. Absolutely. Make sure you get gold and silver. Hook up with Dr. G.
Yeah. Seriously, y'all. Seriously.
Make sure y'all get gold and silver for real. But also keep Federal Reserve notes. See, you want to start using more money. The fact that the way they able to get you into this central banking digital currency is because you used to not having physical money for transactions. So once you get used to that, it's easy for them to cut it off. So start using Federal Reserve notes again, and then just keep them on you in small denominations, 5, 10s, 20s, and 50s. Because if they cut the system off, the dollar is still a medium of exchange that we used to. We know the dollar. So even if they switch, we can still use that as a medium of exchange between each other.
Right. And that's something until you said that to me the other day when we were talking, I hadn't considered, because I'm going back a couple things you said. You talked about how they crashed or did what they did with the crypto deliberately. I was with I'm going to name them Hyper Fund that became Hyperverse. They kept switching some stuff. Right now, a lot of folks have lost. They've lost big money. I lost 21,000. So I literally put like 15 and 6 in, and it was this, in 20 months you were supposed to get XYZ. Well, 6 of it was 2 different things, but 15,000 went to Hyperverse, and to this day, they're trying to figure out how folks can get, you're supposed to get like 8 times, what you put in. I'm like, just give me my 1. Just give me back. I don't need a 1501
right.
or 15,002. Just give me the 15 grand that I put in, and so I'm so gun shy. Even if crypto is good without, because I heard there's a brother, Ishang. Oh my God, he does crypto woke,
Mm-hmm.
and he's been to the House of Reawakening Minds. As a matter of fact, he's really big on crypto. And now that I'm hearing you say what you're saying, he's still educating about it. But I remember when he came to House of Reawakening Minds, good 7 years or so ago, he had purchased his car, mainly, partially using crypto. And so it was showing legitimacy and so forth. But what we need is an education, because he got a new book out called "A Pot to Piss In," right? And I'm going to try to get him on the show. But I'm saying, because I was among the ones that would have come, like, throw my hands up and say, all crypto is no good. Tales from the crypto.
Right. No, that's not necessarily
so. You're saying that's not necessarily.
It's just ultimately, this is why you always have to keep this in the back of your mind. Crypto is built on an electrical grid. So if they hit the grid with an EMP, which most people don't understand. So like they don't. If you get hit with an EMP, everything is done. So people be like, well, not if I have an external wallet. If I have an external wallet, then what you should have. Anybody who has crypto, you should have a physical external crypto wallet that's not attached to the computer, that has its own crypto code, password, and that's where your money is held. Now, the best thing about that is if you lose it, you lose all your crypto. But you lose all your crypto. But if an EMP hits, see, most people just think that your stuff just starts working if it's plugged in. That's not what an EMP does. Electromagnetic pulse fries circuits. So anything that has electrical circuits, it's fried. Even
us.
Yeah. No. Well, no. Well, I wouldn't say us, because we have melanin. Your melanin absorbs vibration. See, we're different. You're different. We different.
There are those that will say that you need to have like organite or some other type of protection because.
Well, yeah.
I'm talking about EMFs, electromagnetic frequencies. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I got the organite pyramid and everything, for sure. But just know that anything that's electrical will not affect melanated people the way it will everybody else, because melanin absorbs vibration, frequency, electricity, light, all of it. It converts it to energy. So we're a little different. It's not, that stuff won't work on us in the exact same way.
That's why they got a problem with us. They trying to figure this stuff out.
That's why they tried to take everybody out with the thingy thing. They came for us first. They came for the melanated people first with the vax that thing up. Remember the video with the vax that thing? They paying everybody. They paying people to get it. Paying people in the hood to get it. There was one brother who came out. He was supposed to be a hustler. He had a commercial. He's like, yeah, I usually get my hustle going, but in order for me to keep my hustle going, I got to get out here, and I got to get. I'm like, why are they doing all that? They tried to get us to take.
They say everybody. Yeah, they did. But I'm hoping that what we're seeing now, and we've seen over the last at least year or so, and rapid succession right now. People's eyes are opening up to, whoa, what we probably made a mistake. We probably
we're the group that took it the least. Only about 30% of melanated people in America took that.
Oh, wow.
Most of us was like, nope. We was like, kick rocks. We're not doing it. So this is where the the money exchange. We'll pay you. You can get this. You can get. Because they know brothers jump at money. But
well, I also want to go back to what you were saying about these alliances. You talk about BRICS. Now, is it true that Iraq and Iran, because I just saw something recently, just signed a peace accord? Was it Iran?
Yep.
So what are the implications of that?
America falling. America is about to fall as the number one country in the world. So like China, when China came together with Russia, Xi Jinping, he said, we haven't seen change like this in 100 years. Basically what he meant was, because 100 years ago is when the world went on the petrodollar, the United States reserve note petrodollar. And that's when America became the biggest country in the world. So he's like, yo, that's over. Now the fact that Russia and China, the two of the biggest countries in the world, other than America, they now going to use the yuan to start buying. So because uh, Russia is going to start selling gas to China, and so the deal that's the deal, and so then but everything else, Russia agreed to use the yuan, so that's going to bolster the yuan, and then all the different countries when they saw these BRICS countries coming together, they were like, "Can I get in?" They was like, "Wait, y'all about to kick America up out of here? Like, let me get in. I want to be there." And so everybody started knocking at the BRICS door, and all these countries now are joining the BRICS countries. So like Turkey, 13 other African countries, they all want to join. Uganda is funny because America. So everybody know Uganda just started or just found
bunch of
oh yeah, so close to $20 trillion in gold ore, right? So now, and just so you know, anybody can go get a mining license in Uganda. I just want everybody to be aware of that. They're giving mining licenses to anybody. So if you can piece up some money, you can go to Uganda and get a mining license and jump on that. That's going to be the future. If y'all don't understand, those countries over there are going to be the future. But so Uganda, they have a so what these countries try to do when they try to take over these countries, they try to socially colonize you, or I call mentally colonize you with their ideas. So America is trying to push the LGBTQ stuff right over to Uganda, and Uganda's like, we ain't down with that. Like, we don't do that. And so they just instituted a law in Uganda. So this is the thing. So when Uganda found that money, everybody was like, well, how long before America tries to start a fight with Uganda? Or tries to buy, tries to go and invade Uganda or start a war with Uganda, whatever, because they got that $20 trillion in gold, right?
Right.
So what happened was, a few months ago, America gave $55 billion to the African countries. They promised $55 billion to the African countries over 3 years. Uganda part of that. So but then what they did, this is extortion though. This is how they get you. All right. We're gonna give you $55 billion, but Uganda, if you don't take off that anti-LGBT law that you got, we might not just give you this money. Sorry. And Uganda was like, kick rocks, fool, we don't care. Uganda president, he started laughing. He was like, we don't give a damn. And basically he said, aid is the problem anyway. Too much aid to our country is the problem anyway. So they'll try to come over there. And now, they'll try to use that. So now they're trying to use that they're oppressing their citizens. So this see how they try to use it. They try to give them money at first. Uganda was like, I don't care. We don't care about that. Now they're trying to use you're oppressing your citizens, and we may have to come in as the shining white knights to save your citizens, save your gay citizens. So the law they just implemented was, if you get sodomized, when you're robbed or something like, so if one of your crimes, like you get robbed and somebody sodomizes you or anything like that in a crime, then you go to it's death. It's a death penalty. If anybody robbing you or something like that, and that happens,
and then they add that to it. Wow.
Right. So they said if that happens to you in a crime, that's the death penalty, right?
On the perpetrator.
Yeah, on the perpetrator, right? Yeah. On the perpetrator. So they tried to come out. America tried to come out and say that Uganda was instituting an LGBT whatever gay bill against their citizens, saying that they would kill citizens if they were found to be gay. That's not that was a complete lie, right? Mm-hmm. So they're trying to drum up this animosity against Uganda so they can eventually try to swoop in there as these saviors and get that money. They want that. They want the gold ore.
They've been economic hitmen. I have new confessions of economic hitman over there. But what came to mind, because me, you talk about some of this stuff too. But what comes to mind when you're saying about Uganda and how much gold they found? If you go back to the ancient stories of how the Anunnaki got here or why they came here,
then for that gold.
Yeah. So if there's a new vein with a whole, we missed that because the story
Yep.
is that they started in South Africa, with the
Yep.
and they had the indigenous people there mining, the ore after the Niji said we ain't
Yep.
doing it,
Yep. Yep. Yeah, the Ijiji was like, kick rock. We're not doing it no more.
yeah, revoked it, and so then they were like, well, we gotta make something that's gonna do this work for us, and so they were in South Africa, and which would make a lot of sense as to why the Afrikaners are
Yep.
there because that's the area where they were oppressing the indigenous people before gold because of their atmosphere, their wherever they come
Yep.
from, needing the gold and
No.
the various
Mhm.
metals, especially gold, in order to survive. So they're
That's
like,
right.
what? They found gold in Uganda.
Yep.
Trust me. And so you cannot negate the fact that those in over here that we think are American, well, they're not Americans. The ones that are in particular positions,
Mhm.
they are walking around disguised.
Yep.
Those same beings that
Yep.
put people under oppression in Africa to get gold are walking around with skin that look like they're saying what they are.
Yep.
And so those I believe are probably the ones going up because they need it. They need to be able to send that all of that energy, that loosh or whatever, back to where their allegiance is. Their allegiance is obviously not here for the legislations and the various things that they've been enacting, sending every aid to foreign countries. We know now was aid
Yep.
to politicians,
Yep.
foreign aid, you know what I mean?
Right. And
Offshore oil accounts.
we don't. And this is. It has to be. You know. And this is. We don't have any evidence or whatever. But if you just doing some deductive reasoning, you like it has to be some type of. Allegedly extraterrestrial force or some type of uh what's the term you know non-physical entity that's kind of behind this stuff, because if you look at all the plans that they institute, they take like 100 years for them to come to fruition. Like the one world order was, the plan started in the early 1900s where they knew they wouldn't see the end of this, so why they doing it? If you're doing this and you're trying to bring the world together, you're trying to bring this one world order together. Why are you doing that if you're never going to see the power? Because the main thing or the reason they say they're doing this is because they're trying to control. The so-called elites. They want to dwindle down the population so that they can have more control over over at least a less amount of people, right? So, but you think about that, if the one world order plan started way back over 100 years ago, like David Rockefeller and his daddy and all them, why would you start a plan like that that's going to take over 100 and something years when you're never going to see the fruition, see that plan to come to fruition, a world plan where you control everything? Why would you spend that much energy implementing a plan, instituting a plan like that that's going to take 100 years, spend all money and energy and time and plotting and planning and flying all over the world and coming together in these cabals and doing all that? Why would you do that if you never going to be there to see the goddamn plan come to fruition?
How do you know they won't?
What do you mean? Because David Rockefeller dead.
Well,
That's how.
look, as far as we know, a bunch of folks are dead that I don't really believe are dead necessarily. And you know me, you do not accuse me, Kevin. I'm not a flat earther, but I am a truther. I'm a truther. And when I get the witness in my spirit about something, and so I believe, that crap, I mean not crap, those tales about when Admiral Byrd and others, went to the Antarctic, which is it was interesting to go to the Antarctic, you gotta go south. You gotta go south to get to the coldest part where the ice walls are. And
Mhm.
they lied to us. They said he ran into beings coming up out the earth and scared him. But that man didn't run into nothing that was coming out of but it's just that there's more beyond the wall. It's a doggone wall. It's a wall. And over there, what I'm pushing people reading this book that I've been reading. Over there, they actually got all kinds of what do I call them? Beings, human
Yeah.
beings,
Yeah.
The Anakim,
Yeah,
the
different types
tall
of beings.
giants, they're all over there on the other side of the wall. Many of them saying that they escaped the reset, the resets that were cyclical, meaning ever so often they would reset. Check this out. The population is says by killing off, either killing, mostly killing off the adults and saving the babies, putting repopulating places with the babies that they could then infuse their ideology in. And so that's why they don't know. A lot of folks don't know what their ancestors knew because they got killed off so that they could interject new beings that they could control. And they said it was cyclical. It would happen at a certain time, except, and this is what I think is going on now, except when they got wind, and they call themselves it's the custodians and the, say, the Anunnaki. They, except when they got wind that the people had too much knowledge of what was actually going on, they would hasten the destruction of the people with pandemics and weather control and
Mhm.
the water people. And this was in 1800 that this count came from. And they had technology over there that's greater than what we have now. And they lived like 3 or 4 or 5 times longer than we live over here. They said because we don't have poison air, we don't have poison water, we don't have poison food, we don't have poison minds, right? And
Right.
so all of these things are what has been, poured down on the people here, and we're fighting each other when we got greater enemies that have been oppressing our people for not
Well,
hundreds of
yeah,
years, but
yeah,
hundreds of years,
right.
thousands of years, millennia. And
Yeah.
so some of us know too much, like you and myself. They don't want the people. They want the people to die before they know the truth, so that they won't rebel.
But just like anything else, there's yin and yang. I'm sure there's extraterrestrials or beings, whatever those you're going to call them, who are negative and disagreeable. But there's also agreeable beings
Right,
who
right,
try to help humans over here, because we've seen that throughout history of ancient ancestors talking about that. Extraterrestrials coming and helping with knowledge and giving basically with knowledge, but elevating the consciousness level of those different civilizations. So again, everything you gotta use the universal law, and everything is not just one way. It's going to be, if the universe creates one thing, it's going to create its polar opposite. So that's the thing. What I mean, so I'm wondering, who are they working for? Like, who are the major cats? Who are they bringing this bullshit? Who are they trying to, because again, these plans take hundreds of years to implement, and
Yeah, but
who
they
are
have
gonna
more
live
than
that, huh?
100 years. They have 1,000 year plans. I have a poem in my book where I said, regardless of 1,000 year of your 1,000 year plan, soon you won't have a leg on which to stand. They don't do they live they and I believe they educate their offspring for succession. You see those old movies coming out now. Everything is about the kings and the royalty allegedly, and how they're putting together the unions so they could and the whole thing. I mean, they plan for succession. We don't. If we've lost generations of history, or I don't like to say history, knowledge
No.
of who we are, we haven't been able to pass it on. We've had to dig back and try to find stuff that they've effectively tried very hard to bury, right?
Yep.
Because if the last reset, they would have taken out the most of the ones with the knowledge, and the new ones like the what do you call it, the orphan trains. What was that about? The mud floods, the orphan trains, taking babies and children all over the country and repopulate. That was probably some level of reset, because they were putting these children, and I believe that some of these children were educated to go to Harvard and Yale and all that, to be their minions, they trained
Right.
them with their ideologies, and
Right.
they became the what do you call them, what's the guy who talks about the theory of all the ones they
You
begin to
talking
say.
about Einstein? You talking about, you said
Well,
theory
I'm
of
sorry.
relativity?
I'm
You said
thinking about the guy that did about how
Tesla?
the theory of
Tesla?
evolution. But I'm
Oh,
saying,
oh. I thought you were talking about number. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, what I'm thinking is that they put their people in place and gave them titles of scholarship and so forth. When these universities were created, they put their own people in, set their own standards for others to have to try to live up to the ridiculous
Right.
stuff. they were saying that we look like, we came from these different apes and all that. But when you looked at most of them, they're the ones that look like this. When you look at them folks, they look like, just like Grant, she called them a Yabriro, something, whatever they look like that. You know what I mean? But I'm saying is that they put their own people in these high positions and gave them titles of professor of this and doctor of that, when all it was indoctrination, so that these would be the ones that would be the gatekeepers and the custodians over the masses, because we got cellular memory. Some of even though we got stuff starts waking up in us, even though they have sliced out 2 or 3 generations before us, but it's in our DNA, it's in our genes, it's in our genetics.
Exactly, which is cellular memory, genetic memory. I mean, which is why they have to keep pushing the stuff on you, because eventually.
That's right. Yeah, Charles Darwin. Yeah, him and his monkey looked.
Charles Darwin.
Yeah, no, he looked like an ape. I'm serious. I'm sorry.
But they their theories was bullcrap though. He was racist.
But they put those people in. How do you establish a precedent that makes you the authority on something that you came into thousands of years after the people who are on the earth, who probably had the best theories or best practices, and then now somehow you are the authority, you are the leading,
I'm the authority. I'm the authority in this organized system we have here, right now, which most people, I can control the information flowing into this control, this system, this organized, controlled system that we have. If I can control and funnel the information in there, then that's what happened. Like there was a story about everybody. If you can look up, there's a what's this dude named Norman Dodd. Look up on YouTube. There's a cat named Norman Dodd, and he's an old
D-O-D-D.
D-O-D-D, Norman Dodd, and he did a interview right before he died. This was like maybe 25, 30 years ago, and he did it with somebody from PBS, I guess the dude from PBS, and he was talking about the crash. He was talking about the crash of 29 and how he stumbled up on something. He stumbled up on so basically he was a stockbroker, and when the stock market crashed, he had to go work for some banks, right? Because the stock market, nobody really make money on the stock market after stock crash, so he had to go work for some banks, or a couple of banks, and he was an auditor in the bank, and so when he saw how the crash happened, he was auditing the crash, and he saw it was something. He's like, the crash wasn't supposed to happen. As he's looking at it, he saw some faulty numbers going on with the crash, right? And so he was submitting this stuff to his bank, his superiors, and he was these reports on how the stock market shouldn't have crashed and how they should have did this, and then he wasn't getting any back. He wasn't getting any any feedback, and so he did it again. He submitted another report, and they said, "Well, look, man, you don't need to be doing this. Won't you? We're gonna reassign you." Because he was finding too much shit, and so my bad. So he was finding too much stuff, and so they sent him out to be an auditor of foundation. So he would go out to like the Ford Foundation, the Getty, and so he would audit these cats. So he'd go there because these cats were getting, these are foundations getting nonprofit foundations, right? So he had to go audit their books, and so he's like, I need to see you guys' books or whatever. And so when he went to go look at the books, these people, they didn't really hide anything, and so it was him and a secretary, and they was like, they just gave him the key to the room for the books. And so what happened was, these cats, they said they were looking at the minutes of the foundation to make sure that they were doing everything properly, right? So that they could get the federal exemption. So when they gave them the key to the room with the information, they didn't know, because this was like the 30s, like this was like the 30s or whatever. But these foundations have been together since the early 1900s, like 1912 or whatever. So these meeting minutes were on the books. So the cats who were running the foundations then, they didn't know what was on the books. It was on the meeting minutes from the early 1900s. So they just gave him the key to go in there and check it out. And when he went in there, he was like, "Oh snap!" He was like, "Crap!" They basically were talking about they were trying to implement a plan to drive how the plan was basically, how could they get America at some point in time to join Russia as a communist country, and then they found out they would have to do this by systematically implementing certain steps. And this was on the meeting minutes of the Ford Foundation. He was like, so they basically getting, they're a nonprofit organization, basically conspiring to link up with a communist country, right? So what he found also was that when he went and audited the Getty Foundation, and he found out that the Gettys paid a bunch of scholars from college. So they basically took a bunch of the top scholars who were in like archaeology and all this type of stuff, basically who can find out the historical information. They took them, gave them a grant, gave all of these scientists grants from early on in college, and then said, you got to study this and put this information out. It was like over 100 and something, close to 200 and something scientists. And then when that happened, after they graduated, those were the scientists who took control over the industry and started talking about, and then they started hiding stuff about melanated people and all this. So, so this is the Getty Foundation. This is the Gettys who did this. And so now when you talk about how now when I look back and we start talking about the plan for them to implement, what was going on, they knew. They said that the Smithsonian was one of them. They found like thousands and thousands of artifacts with melanated people in America, with the as Aboriginal.
In the Grand Canyon.
Huh?
In the Grand Canyon.
Yeah. No, and in the Grand Canyon, that too. But they found a bunch of artifacts, and they took it and put it on a boat and took it out to the middle of the ocean and dumped them. Dumped 1,000 artifacts proving that melanated people were the first people in the Americas. They took all of that stuff out to the middle of the ocean and dumped it. So there's been a major plan, and like you said, it goes back, hundreds and hundreds, thousands, thousands of years.
It is thousands of years, and I'm thinking in terms of just knowledge. That's what the advantage we have right now over maybe some a few hundred years ago that we're getting. This is our ability on this side of the wall to have these communication venues, these being able to get on. We don't know how long it's going to be available because they control it. But one of the things that I've learned, and I know you also, and I'm jumping around a little bit, but I know that you were into health and fitness and things like that. That the all-seeing eye, or the eye of Horus, is really a symbol of the pituitary gland, and I believe that the pituitary gland, if it was not calcified, that was our medium of
the pineal gland.
The pineal gland. That was our medium of connecting with each other. That was we didn't need telephones or helophones or televisions and all that stuff, because we had a way of sending, it would just be an intuitive connection. If you needed to know over where your clan was, what this clan needed you to know, then, it was more than a smoke signal. It was a connection. I'm going to just say, it also has to do with your melanin. The science of melanin is what's been lost. That's our greatest science that we've lost, is the science of melanin, is what your melanin can do, what it is in the universe, how powerful it is. We've lost all that science. Well, melanated people have. Caucasian people get together every 3 years and discuss it in something called the International Federation of Pigment Cell Society. So they know, but no African countries belong to the Federation. So
we don't get the science. Not to say that African countries aren't doing their own science on melanin, because I've seen some of it, like India and all these different places. They talk about blue copper. There's something called blue copper in your melanin that amplifies the vibrations and frequencies. But your melanin is so powerful. It absorbs every bit of light, vibration, sound, everything. Because, and then this goes back to, we're going to go back into ancient times, and this is the lore that they don't tell us about how Saturn was the sun of the earth. We worship, or the people on the earth worship Saturn as the sun at one point, because it was the only light that we could see in the sky before what they call. So when you hear the history of in the gods fought in the gods in the heavens fought, that means the planets moved around. The gods are the planets, and so at some point the planets were positioned a certain way, where Saturn was in front of Jupiter. But then they had something called the Great Fall of Saturn, right, where Saturn fell, and Jupiter repositioned and got in front of Saturn. Excuse me. And so it was called Saturn fell to the dark side. So it fell to the low hemisphere and fell to the dark. That's where you get Vader and all that stuff from. Vader is Saturn. It's the dark. Saturn fell to the dark side.
So that's Darth Vader.
Yeah. So Darth Vader means dark father. So they used to call Saturn the father. Saturn was the father. Was the father at one point, right? That's why everything worshipped is Saturn. So, but when Saturn was the sun of the earth, it wasn't really a sun. It was a very dim light. It wasn't like the sun we have now that boom, it blings. So, but not that sun wasn't there. It was ambient light. It was incoherent light. We could still see it, but because planets were positioned in front, planets were positioned a different way. You couldn't see the sun directly, and so everything was like the sun, our planet, Venus. Our planet Mars, Venus, and Saturn were all on the same keel, and they would move at the same time all the way around like this. So Saturn was kind of blocking our vision of the actual sun. But when the planets moved around, we could see the actual sun. We were like, oh snap, we've been worshiping that dude the whole time? What if that's the real dude? So that's when you start seeing the real sun worship come in. But at that time, when Saturn was the light of the earth, because it was very dim light. Like it wasn't like a bright light. It was a very dim light that ran the earth. So your melanin had to be used. Your melanin would absorb the most minimal amount of vibration that it could, to use it as energy for yourself. So there's a doctor named Dr. Carol Barnes. Everybody should look up Dr. Carol Barnes. He's a scientist who worked with melanin, and he talked about this, how you can stomp on the ground and melanin would absorb. Like if you're in a dark room, completely dark, there's no light or whatever, you can stomp on the ground and melanin would absorb that sound and convert it to energy for your body. So this is what we need to get back to. The fact that we're the color that we are, is not that, and this is the misconception that most people have. Like you say, we black. I'm a black man. I'm black. No, you're not black at all. Anything that has color means that anything that you see in light, it means that it's reflecting that color. Anything that you see with color, it means that it's not absorbing that color. It's reflecting that color. So melanated people are the color we are because we reflect UV light. So UV, ultraviolet light, is goes to purple, light purple to dark purple. That's why we are the hue. So depending on how much ultraviolet light you're reflecting from the sun, that dictates your hue. So your melanin is in a super intelligent consciousness. They talk about this. I've told you this before in this great book of melanin research that I have on realnagas.com. They talk about this in here, how your melanin doesn't work if it's not hydrated. If you're dehydrated, your melanin doesn't work.
Ooh,
so that's crazy. Look, you better sip on some water. Yeah. You better sip on some water right now. Your melanin does not work properly. Your melanin is in stages, but also your melanin can malfunction based off of the foods and stuff that you eat. If you're not eating the proper stuff, like magnesium also boosts your melanin. Like I said, water boost your melanin. These are two of the main things that boost your melanin. They talk about it in the book. So then you see in the hood, we got nothing but things that dehydrate you. liquor stores, fast fried chicken places, and fast fast food places, and all that's different crap that dehydrates your melanin. They knew this. Remember, they've been working on this science for over 117 years. So they've known this about melanated people for over 100 years. What powers you, what you can do, all this type of stuff. And you think that then you start to look at all the stuff that was implemented against you in society, like, oh, this might be why. But if you start to uncover the melanin science, how powerful your melanin is, all the things that it can do, that's when you're going to get back to the greatness and when you once were.
Wow, yeah, that's deep. I struggle with keeping myself hydrated, and I know that's a problem. I mean, half the day,
Mm-hmm.
3/4 of the day may be gone, and I realized the only water I had was first thing in the morning to take a pill.
See?
You
See?
know, and so yeah, no, I'm guilty, and I mean, but it's there's simple things that we need to do to make our time here in this this particular place a more healthy or a more less illness prone, because a lot of the things that I find that we get sick from are things that we do or don't do for
Yeah,
ourselves.
absolutely. All the sickness comes from anything. All sickness comes from whatever you're putting into your body or what you're not putting into your body.
Or what you're not doing. Like sleep is key to so many things. I just was amazed to find how lack of sleep could cause maybe diabetes, inflammation, heart problems, definitely weight gain, and all this stuff. And they've made it so that we live in a 24-hour society. Nothing. When I was growing up, the thing used to come on, the stripes. Da, 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 da.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When the TV went off. Yeah. I remember that.
Nothing else was on.
Or you would get Louis Armstrong, and he would start singing the national anthem. You remember the Louis Armstrong right before
I
the
never
TV went
remember
off.
Louis, but I remember the stars. What is "Oh Say Can You See" and the stripes would come up. The Technicolor stripes would come up, and everything was off. Now we live in a 24/7 society.
Yep.
And there's always something to look at. And we don't realize that they've done this on purpose.
Yep.
Everything that they have done is being done to shorten the lifespan and to diminish the quality of life of the humans, of those of us that are in the way. And they're trying to, they're doing AI and so many things. Like, we don't need them, and we can simulate this but we are the fighters. We have to be based on the knowledge, because my mother didn't live to see this kind of stuff. You see what I mean? My grandmother, and a lot of people die I call it die in the middle, or they transition in the middle, because they transition in the middle, meaning they didn't see the beginning and they don't see the end.
They don't see the end. Yep.
So whatever the narrative is, they were just stuck in the narrative. But we, who
we're here. We're here.
We're here. We've been here a minute, and I've seen some stuff, and I realize I can see the hand that's rocking the cradle.
You can.
Yeah, and we've got to, somehow, if folks don't want to be a part of this renewal over reset, because they reset. And it's interesting that we're talking reset, financial reset. Everybody's talking about the Great Reset from the fiat currency. We're going to these other currencies that I got lots and lots of those other currencies too.
Right.
We think we'll go and get billions of dollars. I hope we do. But what will it be? Will it be more fiat? Or I'd rather have silver and gold.
Well, right. So this is what's happening right now. The dollar actually is probably going to see what's called a deflation in a minute. So inflation means the value goes down. Deflation of the dollar means the value goes up. So America has to fight these other countries coming together against them. So they're going to be pouring more money into the American dollar, trying to pump the American dollar up. So you're actually going to see the dollar actually rise, not soon, for a minute, until they get this CBDC thing straightened, this whole central banking digital currency thing straightened out. Because it's funny, Mexico said they want to join BRICS. Now that's insane. Mexico is right on our border. If they're one of the biggest people who has the biggest stockpiles of United States dollars, a Federal Reserve note. So if Mexico goes off the dollar, that's terrible for America. So now what you hear when Mexico said they wanted to join BRICS, what just happened? Now the American government came out, you have some politicians came out, we need to invade Mexico to invade the cartels. Like, wait a minute, now you wait a minute, the cartels been running Mexico for 30, 40 years already. And now you want to invade Mexico against the cartel. When as soon as Mexico said we want to go off the American dollar. So how they fighting it is, they said, so this is what they call this an existential crisis. American dollar, the American dollar getting ready to be taken out. So in those terms, you have to do what it takes to to keep your country alive, right? So everybody knows about the pipeline, the Nord Stream pipeline that got blown up, right? They did that because they see the writing on the wall that different countries are going to start using gas, different gas, right? So Russia was funneling gas or supplying gas to Europe. And so what they did was so America just found new gas supply. Just so y'all know, everybody know, America just found more gas off of Alaska and somewhere else. So they have more gas now to try to pump to other countries. So now if China gets with Russia, Europe was already messing with Russia. Saudi Arabia is getting ready to is messing with Russia. So this is bad for America, right? So America was like, hey, what that pipeline doing over there? what that Nord Stream pipeline doing over there? So they go blow that up, allegedly. They go blow that up, and now Russia can't supply any more gas to Europe. And then America's gonna be like, hey, buddy, look what I got. Oh, snap, look what I got right here.
We found some more oil.
We got some gas, right? So
gas, yeah.
That's how America do it. I just happen to have some gas in my pocket, buddy. Damn, you lucky as I don't know what. So that's what's going on. That's what you see battling right now. There is a major battle. They're trying to implement this Great Reset, but the Great Reset of the planets that happened, the Great Conjunction, which they also call the Great Reset every time that happens, the Great Reset of the planets, it's thwarting this because when we had that Great Reset, it brought in a whole new age, the air age, we're in the age of Aquarius. And that's what consciousness and communication and information and all of this stuff is in the forefront, especially information. Aquarius is the sign of I know. So as soon as they do something, now you see it comes out 2 days later. They can't hide.
I'm upset because we moved out of I believe. They wanted us to be believers.
Yep.
They tell you believe in me. That's it.
And they can't do it. They can't keep this. They can't keep. No matter what they do, it comes out in 2 seconds. They be like, oh wait, they tell you a lie, and then somebody right behind them getting ready to tell you the truth about what happened. They be like, no, move out the way. That didn't happen. Hey man, y'all want to know what really happened? So they can't stop that right now. The energy of that is it's the new age. They can't stop it, no matter what they do. Which is why you see them trying to take over speech. They're trying to control speech and call free speech hate speech because they know now if I can stop you from talking. If I can get you from talking about it, then that stops the flow of information, right?
Right.
How you get information out. So now I have to control the speech of everybody. They see, they know in no way other time. And this is why I tell people about America. This is why y'all need to start learning your rights because America is unlike any other country. No matter how bad you think America is the only free country in the world that you have where you have 50 different sovereign countries. Like the 50 states are really sovereign countries, and the federal government can't act upon these states without the states' agreement. In no other country do you have that. Every federal government of every other country can implement whatever the hell they want on the government. Like take France, for instance. France, they burning everything down in Paris for the last 2 weeks. You seen that?
No, I missed that.
Oh, what? You ain't seen the memes? Everything is burning in France so bad to where they got videos of people in the restaurant eating while there's fires outside in the street. People are sipping wine, they drinking, they eating their food. There was one restaurant. They was sitting outside on the patio. It was a street table where they was going to the cafe. Right behind them, It was trash and everything burning in the street. This person got up, came, took their jacket off, put it on the seat, sat down. A waitress bought them out some water. I mean, it was going crazy. But the reason that happened was because they raised the retirement age in France from for 2 years. So you gotta work an extra 2 years over in France. And so they were like, oh hell no. So they went into the street, and they went and started burning everything down because of that. But they're doing that also in America. They raised the retirement age from 65 to 67. They didn't tell nobody.
They did.
And so yeah. they didn't tell nobody. And so, this is if you don't but in America, like I said, they just implemented that over in France. They have to finagle it in America because you have a right. You have rights. You free. You get a chance to vote. All that type of stuff. But they know if you don't know how the system works, then they can come in and run the system anytime, any way they want, because y'all don't know shit. If I don't, how you know that I'm rowing the boat? If I row the boat with a TV and you don't know how a boat works, then you don't know. Like, man, you ain't supposed to have rowing a boat with a TV. You're supposed to have an oar, aren't you? But only people who know.
But if one didn't know, then that's what people would be doing.
Right.
I heard Dane Calloway talking about and showed a video of what was it, Margaret Mead? She was that anthropologist that went over and was studying people, and she was talking about a pencil in the clip he showed, and she said this is a piece of wood with lead, but we tell you it's a pencil,
right?
But somewhere else it might be called something else.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So you can say, whatever you want to call it. Like even like when we talk about we have the right to self-identify. Well, they identified stuff for us and told us it was this, and then made it hard. And she said, and in that clip I was looking at from Dane, that we discourage the Americans from learning other languages.
Yes.
They wanted us to be stuck with just this bastard,
It's a junk language. American English anyway, is a junk language. You use filler words that you don't have to use and stuff like that. You use more energy. Excuse me. So you use more energy using English than you would any other language usually. But
we've been under siege. We've been under siege. When you think about it, we have been under siege, and we have been content in our captivity, not knowing, because you don't see the bars around. You see the bars when Ray go to jail, but you don't realize that there's a bigger jail, if you will, that all of us are in, right?
Right. And to me, melanated people, that's because our focus. So it's what affects you the most, right? So most of the things that affect melanated people in the hood the most is obviously finances, but the popo. So we focus more so on the popo than anything. That's our major thing in the hood. You say what's what I'm saying? What is our biggest thing that thwarts us in the hood? It's probably going to be the popo. You can pull up that, and it's also like I said, poverty and institutionalized racism and that type of stuff. But the main thing that keeps you in control is the popo. That is the main thing that keeps melanated people in control. Now, Caucasian people don't have to worry about the popo, so they can actually worry about what's actually going on with their country, which is why they're usually more informed. When it comes to stuff like that, they're always watching. They're the sky is falling people. Oh my God, did you see what happened there? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So they can see all this stuff because they understand where America used to be, and they see where it's moving. But America always been fucked up for melanated people, so we don't ever see when it's moving. So every time it's messed up, we like, what changed? What changed for us? Nothing. So but if
we don't pay attention to things too, like you said. Well, like you told me some things. Did you know if Paris was burned? Did you know they? It's happened here, in Delaware. Oftentimes we would learn about a legislation that was passed, but nobody knew about it ahead of time when you could have gone and voiced your opinion. But by the time we found out, we out there having a fit because we
Exactly.
see the writing on the wall because it was coming.
That's why we have that's why we put these law and government flashcards out there. Actually, volume 1 and volume 2, because we
Okay, so you
know.
got more than just the police stop cards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we got law and government flashcards, so people can learn about. You can't take advantage of the system if you don't know how it works. I always use RZA's lyric all the time. One of the best lyrics in his song. He said, "It's common sense. I master my circumference." That's one of I heard it and I was listening to it earlier today. It's one of the greatest lines in any rap song, because it is. If you don't master what's around you, how do you expect to be able to move properly, freely, or take advantage of the environment? You can't do any of that if you don't know what the hell is going on around you,
That's true.
or even contribute in a proper way, which is how or Caucasian people have over melanated people. They're the ones always at the school board meetings, at the at the city council meetings and all this and that type of stuff, getting stuff done because they know how the government works and they implement that activity. We don't. We sit around. Now some of us do. There's some people who do that, but for the most part, we don't get involved like that. We think no matter what we do, the system ain't gonna work for us. So why in the hell get involved?
Right.
Like why the hell would I want to waste my time? Man, I'm about to watch this game. I'm about to watch this game tomorrow. You see John Morant? John Morant is banging on cats around there. I'm about to.
I like John Morant.
You like John Morant?
Yeah.
Kobe would have ate him up though. But Kobe would have ate John Morant up, boy, like for lunch. But yeah, so we're focused on so much stuff that means absolutely nothing, because we're constantly oppressed, and in this down state, we need release, we need escape all the time. So if you tell us, you try to tell us the damn system is falling, we're like, and like what that mean for us? We all ain't nothing gonna change for us. We're gonna be in the same place. But if you did learn the system, you'd be able to take advantage of that system. They beat that desire for that knowledge out of us in the early after the Reconstruction with the bulldozing. That was a campaign of beating melanated people who tried to get involved in law and government. They would go to these gatherings when you tried to vote, or you tried to be involved in local government. They would go to these places with the Ku Klux Klan and the police and beat melanated people who were in line or at these places. They would go in and raid these places where you were talking about law and government, and they would go in there and just raid the places and beat people. What they call bulldozing. They gave melanated people a bull's dose of a beating. So if you know a bull is big, you can beat a bull something crazy. If you try to beat a bull, and that's the beating they gave melanated people to drive the fear into you of government, law, and government, and then you pass that to your kids throughout history. Don't look at the police officer when he's on. Don't look him in the eye. Put your hands on the steering wheel. Make sure you don't say nothing. Don't all of that. That comes from way back there. The bulldozer. You don't have to be scared of a police officer though, at all. Not one damn bit. How many people know? How many people know that a police officer don't have the right to handcuff you if you're not aggressive when they come up and they detain you? But for 9 out of 10 melanated people, the handcuffs go on you instantaneously because they know you think that's a real thing. That's a thing, and you don't deny. You don't say anything. But that's shackles. Do you understand? Handcuffs are shackles. That's it. They call them handcuffs now, but they old slave shackles, and they think that you're supposed to be used to that. When they roll up to you and they put you in them handcuffs, but unless you're being violent or unless you're trying to run, they have no right to put you in handcuffs. You can sue them for that. That's a violation of your Fourth Amendment right. Or how many of y'all didn't know that a police officer can't put their hand inside your car when they pull you over? It's called breaking the plane. That's the same. It's the equivalent of a legal search. Even if they put their finger, if they fingernail cross the plane, cross what they call the lining of your car, the window of your car, if they fingernail cross that, it's called breaking the plane, and you can sue them for a Fourth Amendment violation. But we don't know any of this stuff. We don't know. So that's what I mean about mastering your circumference.
Yeah. So, but knowledge again. The other is important, but unity, coming together. Because I was thinking, all of these nations are coming together.
Yes.
And is it, do they, look, this is a stupid question, but no question is stupid. I'm going to ask it.
No, ain't
Do
no question.
they realize that we are prisoners of war? That for the most part, we
No.
are unwitting prisoners of war, that we're not a part of this BS. We don't control the government. We don't go in and go into other countries and, overtake them and all that, unless we're in their armies and we're fighting, which we don't realize is
Right.
not our battle. But do they realize that we are prisoners of war and that we want or need to separate and extricate ourselves from this system and be a part of the human or whoever, the civilized people of the
Well,
earth?
they know that. Well, first off, when you first joined the system, when melanated people first joined the system, obviously they didn't want melanated people in the system, because they understood that melanated people had more skills. So when we were slaves, most of the work was done by the slaves, melanated people. So when they got free, they were like, "Oh snap, where my work go? How am I gonna get this done? I don't really know how he did all of this." So we took those skills and put them in our own community. Where you see all the black boss people jumping up, all the black cities, melanated cities that are jumping up and got flooded later on down the line. But the reason they flooded those cities is because they saw that without melanated people, their system was going to crash, and that we were flourishing. Our systems were flourishing. So they had to take our systems out. They had to take our infrastructure out, and then that made us have to join their infrastructure.
Oh, so you're talking about the mud floods and those
Yep.
those things like that,
But
because
yeah, flooding
they,
flooding the cities and all that stuff.
those when they began to rebuild, they built wooden over top of things that
Yep.
were brick
Yep.
and other stronger. They didn't even have the skill set to build what was underneath of the mud.
Nope.
You
Nope.
know, but what I'm saying is, do you see us coming together? And one of the things we're trying to do with our website is to get folks to share. Eventually we're going to have a part where we can put what our skills, what we do on our private side, because we do need to begin to come together with these skill sets. And because since we have the skill, we have those crafts that are under our belt, we just need to start pulling ourselves together so that we can rebuild the nation, our own nation ourselves. But I'm sure it would not be without pushback. But do you see that as a possible solution, and then us connecting on the worldwide stage, saying we ain't with them. They were we were their prisoners, we were their captives. Now we's free, and we want to be a part of the. Do you see anything like that occurring or our life?
Not unless you take your status back. Unless so in two ways. So you can do it in two ways. So most people don't know you can be sovereign in this country. You can be autonomous on this landmass by you buy your own land, and then you set up a government around it. Case in point, Disney. Disney was sovereign for 50 years.
Right.
And they just lost their sovereignty because they were pushing they were against, they were anti with that bill. It was really the child what was it, child something bill, the child education bill or something like that, but they called it the Don't Say Gay bill. And when they came out against that, Ron DeSantis, the government was like, "Oh, you want to? Oh, you what?" And so he went took their sovereignty. "Oh, you really want to go? You really want to judge? You want to play, huh?" And so he took their sovereignty for 50 years. They could make their own laws. They didn't have to pay no taxes. They could issue bonds. They could do anything a sovereign government could do. Disney. So they did it. You can do it too. So how you do that though is you got to get land. You got to acquire the land, and then you set up your government on the land. So if you are melanated, you're Aboriginal, then you can take that. You can go. And this is what I say about reparations. So reparations to me is you going back and asking for something that your ancestors lost fair and square. This is a game. Everybody plays the game. Your ancestors, they lost the game. This is a new time. You didn't have that land. You didn't lose the land. They played the game. What I mean by that is Some of the ancestors sold the land off for trinkets. They sold the land off, like the Cherokee. They sold their land for damn near nothing. It was two people in charge of the Cherokee Nation, and them dudes signed a deal with the American government that turned over all the land. Now the Cherokee killed them. They killed them for it, but the deal was already signed. So, in a new time, you got to do new stuff. Like, this is a new game. You have to acquire the land in a different way and then figure out a new way to do it. So it's not really a new way. Just acquire the land. You can buy land. It's really cheap. You can get it on governmentauction.com. Then once your status is changed, you put the land in a Aboriginal trust. Once you put the land in an Aboriginal trust, America can't touch it ever again. If your status is correct, if you have the correct status, once you put that in an Aboriginal trust, it's free and clear. Allodial title is free and clear from America. So once more and more people start doing that and linking up those lands, then that's when we'll start doing something. That's when we'll start having something, or create an organization to where you have the mass voices sound like one giant voice. All these little tiny voices have to sound like one voice, and that's one of the main reasons we did Know Your Rights Foundation, because we see in this new world order where the only thing that they're going to recognize is corporations, corporations, and I would say governments, but governments are actually corporations. So corporations, foundations, trust, all of these different major entities, that's what's going to be seen. These are the vehicles that they're going to use in the future, in what they call the Great Reset. And so if you're an individual, you're not going to have much power. You have to come together now in order to do anything in this new future. Oh, you're right. We got to come together, but we got to do it in the proper way. And so,
do you believe? What is the method you subscribe to for people who want to correct their status? I hear everything from just fill your paperwork out and keep it to yourself because it's you, to go back through them. And which don't make sense to me that if we're getting away from them, it makes no sense to me that you have to file paperwork with them to go through them. And it's like, if I own you as a slave and you come to me and say, look, I need you to sign off here because I'm getting out. Well,
it's not necessarily like that. Again, everything in the world is contract, right? So contract goes back farther than anything, right? Agreement between two people, that goes back farther than anything. So that's why contracting is one of the top main laws in the Constitution. We will make no laws abridging the obligation of contract, right, or something to that effect. So when you talk about how do I get out of this? Why do I have to go through them? It's because in contracting you have to give notice. There's something called notice that you have to give if you want somebody to understand. So how do I know you don't want to do something if you don't tell me? How am I supposed to know that, right?
Notice though is different from permission, from signing off.
Yeah. Notice is different from you just telling them. You don't got to sign off. So this is what I'm talking about. This is the way I do stuff. So to give you an example, when the colonies came over here from the British, right? And they did something called what? The Declaration of Independence. What is the Declaration of Independence? That's nothing but notice. That's telling England, we ain't fucking with y'all no more. That's all it is. That's all the Declaration of Independence is. So you have to write something like that and say, hey, we're not messing with y'all no more. We were under contract because you are, all the documents that you have place you under contract, the license, the passport, the birth certificate.
Marriage certificate.
Right. So all of these different things are contracts. They place you under contract. So with these contracts in effect, then the government assumes that you agree with these contracts. So you have to notice them that I'm not with this anymore. And then once you notice them, and then you give them a certain time to reply to the notice, they acquiesce, or they don't contact you because they can't contact you because they're a corporation. Excuse me. And also they don't want this information getting out. So, but they can't contact you because they're a corporation. Then that's called, that's called tacit consent. So just like when they send you a notice and they say you got 10 days to reply, or boom, this becomes this, the same thing works for them. Once you notice them and then they don't reply, it becomes law. So basically you have to understand who the corporation is. So I'll give you an example. Like a corporation has, any corporation has something called a registered agent. Anybody who has a business, you know, when you set up a corporation or a business, you got to have something called a registered agent. A registered agent is the entity that's legally able to hear, or who's obligated to hear legal correspondence for you. So it's your ear. It's the company ear. So if somebody wants to sue you or send you any legal document or anything like that, they send it to the registered agent first, right? That's the only way a corporation is obligated to hear you. If you come to a corporation in any other way by then going through their registered agent, they don't have to listen to you. That's by law, right? So the same thing works for these government corporations. These government corporations have registered agents. So I'll give you an example. Like the IRS. IRS is a Delaware corporation. It's called the Internal Revenue Tax and Audit Service. That's the real name. So most people try to go and sue them under the Internal Revenue Service. You can't sue anybody unless you have their actual legal name, their legal corporate name. This is why most people fail in the first place when they go against the IRS, because you don't even have their real name, their real corporate name. So in order to go against the Internal Revenue Tax and Audit Service, which is the true entity, you have to go through their registered agent. You have to go through their registered agent. Now, they don't, when you look their corporation up, it says they don't have a registered agent, which is actually against the law, right? You can sue a company if they don't have a registered agent in the state that they made a corporation in. That's against the law. However, when you go and look up other corporations, the IRS has something called Internal Revenue Service Representation. It's a company called Internal Revenue Service Representation. That's the company that's supposed to hear the correspondence for the IRS. Now, that corporation also has a registered agent. And so if you tried to just contact that company saying, that's the company that I'm supposed to talk to get to the IRS, no, they don't have to hear you either. Why? Because that company has a registered agent. It's called Harvard Business Services or something like that. So if you went through Harvard Business Services to serve them, now the corporation can hear you. See, this is why you have to learn the law. If you don't know law and contracts of government, you can never take advantage of the system. Just something simple as that is knowing corporate law and contracting. So how everybody sends paperwork to the State Department and the Department of Justice and all, you ain't got to do none of that. You ain't got to do none of that bull crap. They are a corporation that you can list it, a Delaware corporation that you can look up, which means, and I'll give you why that means so much. There's a Supreme Court case called United States versus Planters Bank of Georgia. Everybody want to look this up. It's called United States. It's called United States versus the Planters Bank of Georgia. In this case, United States was doing business with the Planters Bank, and so in the case, the ruling was any government agency acting as a corporation divests itself of sovereignty in its corporate capacity. That's a Supreme Court case, never been overruled. Any corporation or any government, acting in its corporate capacity divests itself of its sovereignty. So that means the government, it's an actual corporation. It's a Delaware corporation. The United States of America, Inc. It's a Delaware corporation, file number 219-3946. So if you go look that corporation, now you can say, you are a corporation, government. You're not an actual government. That means you lose your sovereignty. So now you have to deal with them as a corporation. But now if you don't know corporate law or contracting, then you out the game. So that's why I say you have to learn the law, because that's the only way that you can deal with these cats. And they flip this stuff so much that if you don't know the language or the system that they're playing in, you're gonna be left to the side.
Tell us a bit more about what Know Your Rights Foundation offers in the way of the what you have going on there to help us learn these things?
Well, we teach law for free. We teach you the law for free. Like, so, I mean, it's tired of seeing people getting smacked up by the popo out here, tased, and don't tase me, bro, and all this and that. I'm tired of seeing it. Like, popo rolling up on melanated people and shooting before they say put your hands up or anything. I mean, it's ridiculous. But a lot of this stuff happens because we don't know how to stop police from the jump. Like, police just can't walk up to you and say, "Give me your ID." They can't do that unless you committed a crime. Like, all of these different things we don't know. Hey, there you go. Do you have reasonable, articulable suspicion, officer? That's what you're supposed to ask a police officer when they walk up to you and say, "Can I get your ID?" The reason they want your ID is because they're going to run you through the crime system database to see if you got a warrant. That's called soft policing. They don't have to do much. They have quotas. Police officers have quotas of arrests that they have to make so often. So the way they do it is they'll roll around, for most melanated, they'll roll around in the melanated hoods thinking or assuming that all of us got some type of, we shady in some type of way, and roll up on us and say, "Well, let me get your ID." Because a lot of us have warrants and we don't even know. They issue you warrants without you knowing. So you can have a warrant out there and not know at all, and then they roll up on you and say, "Well, let me see your ID." They run you through the system. They say, "Oh, do you know you have a warrant?" And then boom, they got you. One off the arrest quota.
New Jim Crow.
Huh? Pretty much.
New Jim Crow.
Right. So we teach you the law for free. Right? We're basically, the ultimate goal is for us to start law schools in all the different communities. But right now we just have one big online law school. Over 100 students. We're getting huge up in here. So we teach you what to do at police stops or Terry stops, which are police stops on foot, and traffic stops when police officers pull you over. Just the same like the police officers putting their hand inside your car window, or them illegally searching your car. That type of stuff. These are ways that you can stop the police officers. But if you don't know what to tell them to assert your rights, then they're going to violate your rights every single time. I'll give you another example. In California, they just a year ago they just instituted a law where, so there's something called pretextual stops. A pretextual stop is when a police officer is basically profiled. It's racial profiling. It's racial profiling. But a police officer can look at you and think that you may have some drugs or guns or something like that in your car. The police officer can follow you as long as you're within their jurisdiction. They can follow you for however long they want. Wait till you do something wrong, like turn without signaling, switch lanes without signaling, run a stop sign or something very small like that. Then when they pull you over just for that little infraction, then they come to you and say, "You got any drugs or guns in the car?" And you say no or something like that. But you say it and you scared, so you say it and your voice shakes or something like that. Then that gives them a little more suspicion to carry on an investigation to see if you got drugs or guns in the car. It escalates. In California, they just said police officers can't do that no more. They just said police officers cannot follow you, or if they do, they have to say what it is on camera, on their body cam. They have to say the reason. So if they pull you over for changing lanes without signaling, if they keep you there to try to find drugs and guns, they have to say that on the camera why they're holding you there. Also, they did away with jaywalking, because that was one of the other ways that they would always roll up on melanated people. You jaywalking and they jack you up and steal your stuff. Jaywalking's legal now as long as it's not a health hazard. I mean, you're not causing a health threat. Also, when they pull you over and when they want to search your car now, the police officer has to tell you on camera. He has to ask you on camera, "Can I search your car?" That has to be on camera now. Before, they would just come up to you and say, "I'm going to search your car." The reason is, when they do that, they don't have a right to do that, but if they'll act like they have the lawful right to search your car. But if you don't say, I don't consent to searches, then you don't know that they don't have the right to do it. They just go ahead and do it. And then when you come back and say, "Well, they searched my car," the police officer will just say, Well, I told him I was going to search the car, and he didn't say no. So, and that's called tacit consent or acquiescence. So, knowing all of these little things, man, it does away with 99% of the problems that happen at police stops. But if you don't know that stuff, you fall victim to it every single time. So we got more stuff to be doing in society than dealing with the popo, 99% or 89, 90% of the time. We want to go out here, we want to do stuff, we want to build stuff, we want to create businesses and societies and all this and that type of stuff. But how you gonna do that if you scared every time you roll out 2 blocks past your house, you see the police car and your heart jump out your chest? You can't, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you scared of the popo, you're not gonna really be able to do anything.
Well, yeah. So that's a good thing to. So in order to actually sign up for your classes, I had it up earlier. Let me.
Yeah, so you can go if you want to volunteer, and so that's volunteer to learn.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go to knowyourrightsfoundation.org, and so sign up as a volunteer. Let us know you want to learn the law, and what we ask is once we teach you the law, then you have to, you become a representative of the Know Your Rights Foundation, and you can go out. You have to go out and teach that, or you don't have to, but we ask that you do to go out. Pay it forward. Go out and teach that to the people in your community. So, and we have 3 classes a week, 3 huge classes. They're interactive. They're fun. We clown. As you know me, I clown no matter what. So we have fun in these classes, but the community, learning law in the community helps you to boost that law faster. So, if you go to any country and you try to learn a language, so the law is a language. It's not a bunch of information that you want to hold and remember for, you will do that the more you learn it. But the law is a language called legalese. And for you to learn that, you have to immerse yourself in the language. If you go to Italy or Mexico, if you immerse yourself in the language with people talking to you all the time, you're going to pick it up that much faster. So the Know Your Rights Foundation is a law nation. Our language is the law. And so by speaking that with so many people, and linking up with people and studying, you're going to learn the law that much faster, way faster than I learned it. It took me, to learn the law like this, it took me a good 10 years. Y'all going to learn it way faster than I learned it. So, and then also build a community. It's not just you're learning the law, you're building relationships and communities so we can go out and we can actually do things. There are people who are hooking up, business type of stuff and all this type of stuff within. So it just on a small scale, it grows into something greater. Just learning your rights. So that's the main thing we want to do. KnowYourRightsFoundation.org. We got all the law books. You got Know Your Rights Manual. It's the Know Your Rights Manual. It's teaching you everything you want to know about traffic stops. This right here is called the Public Official Bonds Book. If a police officer gets at you, you can sue them, but that takes 2 years. They have something called a Public Official Bond or a police bond, police officer's bond, to make sure that they don't violate your rights or destroy the city. So when they do that, this bond, which is usually for $75,000, you can go after that bond and get the bond within a couple of weeks instead of having to wait 2 years in order to get your payment. So they don't want you to know about this, but this bond, every police officer, every public official has to have a bond unless they're federal, then they have insurance. But there's always a way for you to get back. And so, like we said, we got the flashcards. We got 4 decks of flashcards. we literally got 4 decks. Police stop, flashcards 1 and 2. Law and government flashcards 1 and 2. And we done created everything that we can to teach y'all the law. And then I'll give you that whole package for free if you go to realnagas.com and order the Great Book of Melanin Research. You get that, and I'm going to throw in 2 decks. You usually only get 1 deck of cards, but I'll throw in 2 decks of cards, 2 decks of flashcards, if you guys go pick up the Great Book of Melanin Research. So I need you guys to learn the law because honestly, we need a law army. That's our goal is a law army because we've never done that before. We've never sat down to learn the law. The Black Panthers, the Nation of Islam, none of these cats ever sat down and learned the law. What happens when you do that and they can't do anything? They just can't do what they want to do to you in society no more by implementing certain laws and bills and codes and all this stuff. What happens when you are able to master that? What you able to do now? Sky is the limit. And they know that, which is why they try to hide the law from you or discourage you, discourage you from learning the law. But I'll take the Black Panthers, Huey Newton. Huey Newton went to law school for 6 months. He went to law school for 6 months. Look what he did with what he found out, what he learned in 6 months of law school. 6 months of law school, he was able to walk the streets and tell the cop, pig, what do you want, pig? He carried big old guns right in front of the Pope, but they couldn't do nothing. Caucasian people would call the police and be like, these black guys are carrying guns outside, and the police would get there and couldn't do a damn thing because he knew the law. Back then, you could open carry in California, and they couldn't do anything about it. But then, when they walked up into the Capitol building in California and took the guns with them, they said, "Oh snap! These black people, they gonna kill us one day." And they immediately started implementing laws against the Black Panthers in gun laws. So that's their way back at you. They know you don't know the law, so anytime they want to get at you, they just go to the Capitol building, into the back rooms, and start implementing laws against you, knowing you ain't gonna read them, but you got to follow them anyway.
That's right.
That's how that works. That's the main thing we got.
Yeah. So we have to learn the law, and we have a way to learn that freely.
Both sides. Status law. You want to learn your status for sure. That's the melanated people who are from the Americas. Learn your status. That is the highest. Aboriginal status is the highest status in the world. Just so we're clear. Aboriginal status is the highest status in the world, recognized. And you can see that's recognized by the United Nations with the Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People, and then every other country that's involved with the United Nations has to follow that declaration. So Aboriginal status is the highest in the land. And then what's the criteria for Aboriginal status around the world? Self-identification. Self-identification, and then self-determination. What that means is self-identification. You have to tell me who you are.
Right.
You have to come and tell me you are Aboriginal, because I don't know. Like I said, you're going to be whoever the hell I want you to be if you don't tell me. Then self-determination means I can determine my future. We have the power to determine and the right to determine what happens to us without the federal government interference, or any other government around the world who have Aboriginal people in their land, or who's on any Aboriginal land, I should say, not have land, but who's any other governments who are sitting on Aboriginal land. They have these Aboriginals have the right to self-determination. America, they said this in a declaration. They said they have the obligation to help you. They said this. So when people keep going back for reparations, like, y'all don't even know the government told you as Aboriginals they owe you. They said if you come back as Aboriginals, we gotta help you. We gotta help you build schools. We gotta help you build the infrastructure to your system. We gotta do all of that. They literally said that in House Congressional Resolution 333. Anybody go look that up? House Congressional Resolution 333. They admitted they owe everything to the what they call Native Americans, but the Aboriginals who were first here. And they said, in order for us to do that, you need to tell us who you are. You need to come tell us who you are. So that's why taking your status back is so important. Then once you do, you can put anything you own, all of your property, in an Aboriginal trust, and they can never touch it ever, 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 ever.
Do you also work with people who want to develop their trust?
And well, no, I don't do the. I can, but I'm trying to teach them. I teach them the status part. But I mean, I can. If somebody wanted to do that, yeah, I can work with them to do that. But that your trust is going to be personal. Like you shouldn't make a trust like anyone else. A trust is just so you know, corporations and trusts are legal persons in the law. A corporation is a public person. A trust is a private person. So some trusts have the same stipulations, but you should make up your own trust with your own stipulations. They're literally organic. The way you think, the way you want your trust to work and implement, you do it yourself. If you say you want, your descendants to get your property at this amount of time, or if they have to do certain stipulations in order to get their property, I mean, you can. All of that is on you. So, but yeah, I can help.
I think for most people, it's just basic structure
Yeah,
You know,
law. Yeah, legal structure. But that's legal
yeah.
structure. But after you learn the law, after you learn the law, but that legal structure will be a lot easier though. Once you start learning, you're not just gonna write your Aboriginal status without knowing the law. So once you know the law, you'll know how to write you'll know how to write your trust, or at least have a good idea of the stuff you want to say. But
And
land is
as far as
so
Aboriginal status, that you does the Know Your Rights Foundation also assist with that?
no. Just so we're clear. Know Your Rights Foundation only teaches. So there's yin and yang law. There's a status law, and then
Hmm.
there's in the system law, police stop law. We teach police stop law because police are the first line of offense that the system uses against you. So if you can stop them from messing with you, then you can do anything else. You take the monkey off your back, then you have a lot of time to do whatever the hell else you want to do. So I teach status on my Patreon. That's patreon.com/Reel Nagas. If you sign up, you can sign up to one of the status class levels, and then at the highest level, when you're able to explain the paperwork, I just give it to you for free.
Okay.
If you're able to learn the law and break the paperwork down to me, I'll give it to you for free because I need you to learn the law. I need more
So
people
that's
to know the law.
Patreon.com. What
Patreon.com/Reel Nagas.
is that for status?
That's for stat. That's for the status class. You want to sign up to the status class? Go there. There's like close to 30 classes already uploaded over there. You can go watch them at your own leisure. Each class is about 3 to 4 hours long. So that's how the information flows. But it's a lot of information in there. You can learn at your leisure. Take your time doing it. But again, once you're able to explain the paperwork, I'll give it to you so you can do your thing.
Is that it?
But,
Right there. Did I put that up there right?
you're on the Patreon. Yep. That's
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you. So yeah, this is one of the things. This is the thing though. A lot of people think this is my whole life learning the law. This is not. The law ain't my life at all. I'm for some reason I'm just like, I'm a natural at it. I can read the law. Like when I first started learning the law, it was just easy to me. Like it was like reading a comic book. So because I can decipher it that easy, this is why I'm able to I come and disseminate it. But I'm not super passionate. Like you need to learn the law. I'm like, I'm the reason I'm passionate about it is because if I see I'm a fighter. I teach martial arts, and so if I'm teaching you how to fight, and I see you keep getting hit with the same punch and over and over and over again, you keep getting knocked out with the same punch. I'm like, look. Learn how to defend that punch. Learn how to block that punch. Why you keep getting knocked out in the same place with the same punch every single time? So that's my philosophy behind it. As a fighter. If you tag me one time, I'm going back like the Shaolin monk and learn and practice for 3-4 years and come back and try to take you out. So that's why I think people need to learn the law, because learn how to stop a cat from punching you in the mouth, and then you can do whatever you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But but most people, I understand. I understand. You may think it's a little hard, but it's not. It's not that hard. It's very interesting once you get into it. Reading the law and law cases. It's almost like watching movies, because it's real stuff that happens in real life, and you be like, oh snap, that happened. But
I have a question here. Somebody put something here that I don't think you said this. He's asking where you're. Let me put this here. He said, or they said, I don't know if it's he or not. Said, "Are you an agent?" And the next response was telling us to sign a contract with the status law. You didn't say that.
I didn't say that at all.
Yeah, you didn't.
Are you an agent? I'm telling you how to stop people from punching you in the mouth, and you sitting up here trying to tell them how to keep you punching in the mouth. Are you an agent?
Yeah,
I'm an agent.
A change agent. You're a change agent.
Whoever asked that, you need to run from me. I'm an agent. Don't learn the law from me.
Okay, I just need you to clarify, because I didn't hear you say that.
I said make your own contract and send it to them, telling them you not messing with them.
Putting them on notice.
Yeah, putting them on notice. I mean, I'll give you. I'll let you know how important notice is. Most of the time, people sue police officers. It gets thrown out of court for something called failure to state a claim upon which relief can be granted. This is a legal thing. Failure to state a claim upon which relief can be granted, which means is you didn't go and file a claim against the police officer first, because if a police officer violated your right, then you need to let that police officer know they violated your rights, and you're coming to get remedy in order for the police officer now to be able to try to remedy it. They can come to you and say, "Oh, I want to do this, I want to do that," maybe. But if you don't give someone notice in law, then they don't allow for that. You have to give somebody notice. So if you've been a slave of the United States corporation your whole life, then you want to get out. How the heck they gonna know you want to get out if you don't tell them? They're not gonna know. So you have to do your paperwork, send them the paperwork, and tell them, "I'm not messing with you no more, United States of America Inc." and all the rest of the other Delaware corporations that are under you. I'm not messing with y'all no more. Then when they don't respond, because they won't, when they don't respond, then that becomes law. That document you sent them becomes law now.
Yeah, you're right. You weren't suggesting that people will go, as some do, go through them, change your social security number to get your new appellation on it, go through, if they say, to the court and change. That's not what you're saying. That's what I was clarifying when I asked you. Basically, what you're saying is notification versus a request for permission. You're not asking permission. You're just saying, "Look, I'm not like you said. I'm not with this anymore. I'm out." And if they have anything to rebut that with, then they have whatever time you put in the notice to respond. If not, it becomes law. Your law.
But they can't rebut it, because when you send your paperwork in, you're going to send the severed contract. You're going to send everything that you've taken off. You're going to send all of that.
So you would send them birth certificates, marriage licenses, or driver's license, and is all that stuff.
Well, you just tell them in the paperwork that you were sending all these contracts. You don't got to send each.
I was wondering. I'm just for clarity's sake. Because
you tell them in your paperwork that I'm rescinding this, I'm rescinding that, I'm rescinding this, I'm rescinding that. And if they have contracts to prove that you're obligated, then they need to show the contract.
Okay.
Which, if you've severed the contract, then they don't have a contract to show that you're obligated. Mm-hmm. That's why they can never answer.
Right. Yeah, because, and then other people want to know then when they do that, how they would function. Again, we don't have our own government, so it's kind of hard. So when they want to navigate it and all that, but somebody asked me about why they keep reading us the VIN number and going back to their straw, because I said, well, that's what's registered, and so you don't have that original. What is that?
Well, but this is the thing about the way I do status. So I do it where you have 1 foot in the system and 1 foot out of the system. Meaning, you sever all your contracts. The corporate government has no obligation over you. But because they have taken over the system, they're the de facto government, meaning de facto, not real government, but they've implemented themselves like they are the real government and given you no other recourse. Basically, they've implemented every system that you have to use. And so now you're under duress. In contract law, anything that's done under duress is non-obligating, meaning it's null and void from the jump. Nobody can force you to sign a contract. Nobody can force you into a contract. So if you have a driver's license, so once you sever your contract, you can keep your driver's license, your social security. You can keep all of those documents. They don't hold any power over you anymore, because you severed the contract from the jump, from the what they call ab initio, from the beginning. So since you severed the contract, now when you're rolling through these, you keep these documents because police officers don't know anything about the law. You're going to go try to say, well, I'm sovereign, more L, this and that. They're going to be like, oh, you want them sovereign, and they're going to smack you up. They don't know any law. Police officers don't know any law. So for you to try to argue the law out on the street with the police officer is retarded. They don't know anything. The law is for the court. So if you were to get hemmed up by the police, then you would have a court date. Then you send your paperwork into court, where the court now needs jurisdiction over you to implement anything over you. So they have to have 3 forms of jurisdiction: jurisdiction over the person, jurisdiction over the venue, meaning place where it happened, jurisdiction over the subject. right? Meaning whatever happened. If they don't have one of those three jurisdictions, they have to have all three in place. If they don't have one, they don't have any. They can't move court. There's law that says court cannot vest itself with jurisdiction. It has to prove. It has to prove it. So once they try to get you in the court. So just say even for a simple traffic ticket, if they pull you over for speeding and you fill out, you give your driver's license or whatever, you sign the ticket, all rights reserved. Make sure you sign everything, all rights reserved. So you sign it, all rights reserved. And so then it's something called a notice to appear. They want you to appear in court. How you would appear in court is under special appearance. A special appearance means I'm only coming to court to challenge the jurisdiction of the court. That's it. That's the only reason I'm here. So once you challenge the jurisdiction of the court, everything stops. The court has to prove jurisdiction now in order for it to move forward one step. So if you severed your contract, all your paperwork, how can they prove jurisdiction?
Okay.
They can't. Move smarter, not harder, damn it, people.
Learn the law.
Learn the law, send your paperwork in. Once you move freely out here, if anything were to happen and you needed to go to court, you send your paperwork into court challenging their jurisdiction. And they have to answer that. But they can't because you severed your paperwork. They have no evidence of them having any obligation over you. Zero. That's how that works.
Well, it makes sense to me. And we are at the 2-hour mark, a little bit over. And we have talked about a lot of stuff. I urge the viewers. I know you were able to stream it on your channel also, right? Did you get it?
I think so. I didn't check.
I think you did. I think you did because I saw your people coming on and they were giving you some, I don't have the financial things coming up on mine, so that must be your channel. So, but yeah, so we were able to do that. I just encourage you all to subscribe to the channel, but also we have a website. House of Real Awakening Minds has a website, www.houseofrealawakeningminds.com is streaming down on the bottom. Please go to our channel and subscribe. We are to our website and subscribe. We are subscribe and join. There's two different things. Subscribe just as in general. Join means you get in on the private side. It's unfiltered stuff, and so please, it's free. Go to houseofrealawakeningminds.com and please join the website. Subscribe to the website. You will be getting notifications. Kevin, thank you. Listen, we're both wearing our t-shirts for our individual. Right. Yeah, he got his Know Your Rights Foundation shirt, and some of y'all know that I can't go off without plugging my own stuff, right?
Please do.
Yeah, so I know some of the folks are gonna hang up, and click off.
No, don't say that. No, y'all watch.
Tell your people don't go nowhere. I'm watching the numbers.
So, hey, Reel Nagas people, y'all better listen to this.
So we have a couple of some people do all of their ads in the front, and I wait till the end. And only the ones that wait till the end get it, and the ones at the beginning, because everybody's not on time anyway. So we have a couple of things. We had an awesome event. Yeah, we'll talk about this. We had an awesome event on March 17th, 18th, and 19th, and folks came from all over. And we are going to have another event July 28th through the 30th. Y'all, I'm trying to get Kevin. I'm going to call Reel Nagas, Kev. I'm trying to get him. Look, we finally put the other thing. I'm trying to get you to come and visit your kinfolk over on this side of the country, so that you can come. Huh?
My people's over there on the East Coast.
Your peoples are over here on the East Coast, and so we're trying to get him to come. We ask you to save the date. Here's the date right here. I have to do 15 things at the same time to take stuff down. But save the date is coming up the 28th through the here it is, July 28th through the 30th. And we had a ball. If anybody's in the chat that was there this 2 weekends, a weekend before last, I guess it was, please, let the folks know how great a time you had this past this first time we actually it was our grand reopening. Kev. We haven't been
What?
open House of Reawakening Minds for over 2 years, almost 3 years, doing anything live. Really, we just been coming live on here, Grand Chica Live, but we are going to be starting the last Friday in April. Grand Chic is going to be doing his lives in person on the fourth Friday. So those who used to come
What
to
up,
House
brother
of Reawakening,
Josh?
and those used to come to House of Reawakening Minds on the fourth Fridays or whenever it was and see him live and in person. We're going to start that up on once a month, and then he's still going to come on live stream on the first and third Fridays. So that is what we're doing. And second, I'm trying to talk and do some other things at the same time. I want to put my product up, and I have to do like 3 things to set this doggone thing up. But here it is. Here it is. Let me
I
figure
like
this
how
out.
we both got the royal purple going on. We got the Phoenician
Yeah. So I'm doing this, and this I'm shout out to the sister and brother who made the T-shirt for me in
purple.
in a short period of time. And here we go. Right. Let me
Yeah.
start this up. I want y'all to hear this thing. All right. It's Dr. G, and I'm so excited to present to you my new hair and skin oil. Dr. G's Hair Cares and Skin Too. Yes, it is a wonderful blend of oils that are beneficial to the skin and the scalp. Yes, it promotes and protects hair growth. It also nourishes and hydrates the skin and the scalp, and is paraben and sulfate free. It has a fragrance that is neutral enough that both women, men, and even children can wear. And it is all natural. So listen, if I were you, I'd get my bottle of today. It's a 4-ounce bottle. We'll ship it out to you. Not sure how long we can keep this in stock. So I would check the link and purchase some today. It's going to be your new favorite go-to oil for the hair and the skin and the scalp. So get some today. Dr. G's Hair Cares and Skin Too. Let me figure this out, Kev. We'll bring it back to you. So yeah, got my oil out and already getting some reviews. I mean, literally, I don't know if you guys have seen it as my hair is growing all up. Kev, you can put it on your skin.
Put it on my.
You can put it on your head, but it might make your hair grow, y'all. So
I'm gonna get my hair back. I'm gonna get my hair back, Dr. G.
You get your hair back. But it's also good for the skin too. That's why I love it. And it's been making my hair grow. I mean, my hair is like down like the middle of my back. Like I've got it kind of plaited up. But I've been wearing my oil using it for a couple of months before it actually came out. And I'm just excited about my beautiful, label and all that.
Everybody go get that Dr. G oil. Stop playing.
It's right here, y'all. So listen, I appreciate everybody for tuning in to tonight. Look, just a reminder, be respectful in the chat. We don't always have to agree, but we always have to be respectful. And I appreciate you, Kat, for coming on and, sharing your knowledge and all of that as usual with us. So,
I appreciate you.
Listen, I know we're gonna let y'all go. Thank you for the 625 of you who stayed on to hear what's going on. But again, we have this event coming up July 28th through 30th. I don't know if anybody was in the chat that was here for that weekend and enjoyed themselves. I know I saw 1 or 2 that was here, but thank you. We had a wonderful time, and so much so that they were trying to come back, Kev, like the next month. We're like, no, we can't do that. We got a group in the Midwest talking about a party train. They're gonna get a party train and come like from I think it's from Kansas and St. Louis and Chicago, and then they coming down. But we had them from all over, from California, Kansas, St. Louis, Chicago, down south in New York, and so but you got kinfolk over here, so put that date down, and And then we have some
funny. You are funny.
some folks in the chat want me to get you back on. Want me to get you and Rod Hayes on the same thing. I'm gonna try to talk him into it, y'all. I don't do debates. I mean, like just like when I brought him and Grand Sheik on together, I called it "Where's the Beef?" Because folks are always trying to find the differences instead of seeing the similarities. You know, you may not say the thing exactly the same, but there's so many, similarities and so forth. And folks are always, not folks, but some folks are always trying to see the discord. And we've had enough discord. It's time for us to come together. You know what I mean? So we don't all have to, everybody don't have to wear purple shirts to be on the page. Y'all, I love you. I love you, Kev. I love you. Thank you. I loved you ever since I saw you on what was the name of it? Where did I on the
Black Magic?
No, I knew you before that.
Oh, Zoe? Oh, Zoe. You mean Zoe?
Zoe
what? Yeah, the Zoe White Show.
So what?
Shout out to Zoe.
Yes. So, but listen, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on. Thank you all. And I'm going to go because, listen, I'm tired. I am so tired. And listen, can I tell on you?
What?
Yes.
So what? What is it?
Listen, y'all, I got to tell you this. This is a funny story. So I called Kev yesterday, and he didn't answer the phone, but then he answered the phone. While it was still ringing, my phone rang back. And he called me back, but because my call woke him up because he was asleep at the computer. And so while we talked, he said, Darji, I was asleep. Then he thanked me. And then I kept talking, and he fell asleep on me.
I don't know what you're talking about.
He started snoring.
I don't know what you're talking about, Dr.
3:43 in the afternoon, your time.
I be up at 12 a.m. That's what I be doing stuff.
I said, look, I had to tell on you. But thank you for waking up and being here on the show, and thank you for everything you do to uplift fallen humanity. I appreciate you, and y'all. I do apologize. The date does say 2022. I didn't real. Thank you for that one that told me I have it down for March 28th, 2022.
Oh yeah.
I tried to change it during the show, but I couldn't upload the change. So y'all, I'm putting it up. It's gonna say 2022, but y'all know it was today because you were here. Right? You know it was today. So thank you so much again for coming on the show, and thank you all for being here.
Thanks, Dr. G.
Yeah. You still there? You still talking to me, Kev? Don't go anywhere. Don't go nowhere.
Okay.
Stay there.
Dr. G. Really? Oh shit.
Yeah, that's me.
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 Dr. G.
that's me.
Dr. G. Really? Who's she?
Yeah, that's me.
Dr. G. Really? Who's she?
Yeah, that's me.